Alright, we've talked at length about fursuits on this channel before. We've gone over what they are and why people get them, and have briefly reviewed the process of how to get one. And I don't plan to stop talking about them anytime soon, since there's just so much about fursuiting that I could go over. But of all the times we have talked about them before, we've mainly been focusing on fully custom suits that are designed after a character that you owned or created yourself. But what if you don't have one of those yet? What if you don't want to make yourself a custom fursona? Or what if you just want to get a fursuit without any of those prerequisites? Are there any alternatives? Actually, there is a type of fursuit that you could get if you don't want to be in charge of the design. You can get a pre-made fursuit. They're exactly what they sound like, a fursuit that was designed by the maker themselves, but that doesn't make them any less special than a fully custom one. In fact, there are a lot of advantages that pre-mades have that you might want to consider if you're ever in the market for a fursuit. So with that in mind, let's go over what is different about a fully custom and a pre-made fursuit, what the advantages and disadvantages are of getting something pre-made, and most importantly, why they can be just as special as their fully custom counterparts. But before we get too far into things, I just want to quickly go over what exactly we mean when we talk about fursuits. A fursuit is a special costume of a fursona that can be worn over some part of your body. When most people think of fursuits, they are thinking of the full body suits, complete with digitigrade legs and every part of the body underneath being covered. And while something like that is unmistakably a fursuit, not all fursuits cover the person wearing them completely. There are partial fursuits that may be missing the body part and are only composed of the head, paws, and tail. Sometimes it's even just the head and the paws or just the head itself, but even that is enough to qualify as a fursuit in this day and age. So when we talk about comparing fursuits, all of those types are in the mix, and that also goes when talking about pre-mades as well. Speaking of which, let's go into those pre-mades, because for all intents and purposes, the only thing different about them versus a custom fursuit is that they aren't really custom. Actually, hang on, let me rephrase that. They are custom based on what the maker wants, not what the client wants. Don't get me wrong, pre-mades are still unique and one-of-ones. They're just based off a character that the fursuit maker themselves designed, that's all. Other than that, they're not much different in terms of the suit themselves. They are made by the same people that take custom commissions, they are constructed in all the same ways, and just like customer commissioned fursuits, you don't need to have one in order to be a furry. So that's great and all, and pre-mades are pretty easy to understand on the surface, but I'm sure the question that you and a bunch of other people might have is, well, what's the point of them? I mean, if anything, the idea of pre-made starts to shy away from the whole point of joining the fandom and creating a fursona, right? Since they're not designed by me or created based on a character that I have, aren't these getting closer to just costumes rather than fursuits, something that anyone can just pick up and start wearing without any affiliation to the fandom? Well, let's slow down there a little bit. Even though they're not custom made or based on a character or a fursona that a customer may have, they definitely still qualify as something more special than just another costume. And for many people in this fandom, they are just as connected to their suits as physically and emotionally as someone with a suit designed from their own character. Let me explain. First of all, pre-made fursuits are still very much fursuits in every sense of the definition. They are wearable pieces of art that are designed after a character designed for use in the furry fandom. I think a lot of people get hung up on the idea that the character that is designed after was not given to the fursuit maker to create. It was one that they created or otherwise came across. So when someone gets a pre-made suit, they are not only getting the suit, but in many cases also getting the rights to the character that it's based on as well, which may be by design by the customer. You see, there are a lot of people that are in this fandom and call themselves a furry, but don't have a character or a fursona for themselves. Maybe they just couldn't get one to stick, or simply don't want to go through the whole trouble of creating one for themselves, which is perfectly valid. But that doesn't stop them from wanting something like a fursuit, and they might initially believe that because they don't have a character to commission one for, they're completely locked out of the experience of owning a wearable furry carpet for themselves. That's where pre-mades come in. Pre-made fursuits essentially solve this issue by filling that gap in the market. They allow someone to get a fursuit that they didn't have to design, but once they do have it, they can make it into their own all the same. In fact, you can almost consider pre-made fursuits to be wearable adoptables, because that's essentially how they function. When you get a pre-made, you basically go through the fursona design process in reverse, where you are given the species and the design of your character, and you backfill the rest with the personality and characteristics that you want to give it. And once that's complete, the end result is still the same. It's a wearable piece of art that you now own that is designed based on a character that you also own as well. Now that's probably the biggest reason why pre-made fursuits exist in the first place, but they continue to remain popular today for a lot of other, more practical reasons as well. Because they are created beforehand, pre-mades often are sold as partials with just the head, paws, and tail. This makes them a lot more approachable from a financial standpoint for many people in this fandom. Also, because the process of making them is already done at the point of sale, they're a lot easier to buy as well, as many fursuit makers will sell them in person at conventions, on online marketplaces like the Dealer's Den, or can simply ship them to you after ordering from their own website. Premades are also a great way to start off your fursuiting journey by building up your full suit over time. What a lot of people do with premades is that they'll get just the head or the head and the paws first, and over time, when they can afford to do so, they will commission a custom bodysuit to go with the already created head, paws, and tail. In fact, a lot of fursuit makers will offer this as a service where you can buy their premade and receive that immediately, and that same maker will create the custom bodysuit for you, essentially finishing the fursuit based on your body. Premades are also a really good fit for second or third characters that you may have but still want to cosplay as. I've even heard of people using them to try out fursuiting with a character that they themselves didn't create. That way they know that they like the act of fursuiting and know what their physical limits are before fully diving in with a custom commission of their own. It's no wonder that I've been seeing a lot more of them lately, and honestly, it really shouldn't come to any big surprise. Premade fursuits fill a very important gap in the market for a lot of furries. In short, they just make the process of fursuiting, from designing a character to creating the suit to getting that suit when it's done, a whole lot easier. In the best case scenario, you could technically pick up a pre-made suit from a dealer's den at a convention on the first day and spend the rest of that weekend running around in your brand new suit right after. I'm personally a big fan of them for all the reasons we've already gone over, but I also really like the idea of taking on the challenge of being handed a character and backfilling a personality for it, and then portraying that same personality immediately in a fursuit. I also have a couple of other characters that I've been slowly working on designing, but don't have species for them yet, and if I'm in the position to get another one, my next suit will probably be a pre-made that I'll give the personality traits of my unfinished characters to. Let's face it, custom fursuits are awesome. Being able to wear your own character and use your own body to portray them is very special. But going fully custom may not be the way that someone can or wants to go when it comes to fursuiting. And that's where premades come in. They are simpler to get, faster to go from nothing to a fursuit, and just as special as any other wearable furry carpet that is based on a character or fursona. You just get the persona along with it. Alright, that's it for this one. Thank you for watching. Feel free to hit the subscribe button if you like videos like this from me, and I'll catch you in the next one. But until then, stay wild out there. Peace.